What's up guys, my name is Brandon, welcome to Quick Flicks. Today, we are covering Don't Breathe, directed by Fede Alvarez, releasing in 2016. Despite being a director, he's also known for writing titles such as 2013's Evil Dead and the upcoming Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which, if you didn't know, is supposedly going to be another remake of the original. Originally titled A Man in the Dark, Don't Breathe follows a group of robbers played by Jane Levy, Dylan Minnett, and Daniel Zavado, who break into a blind man's house to grab some valuables. Easy money, right? Nah, this blind man is a force not to be reckoned with. Despite being blind, he can use his other senses to help defend himself. With a sequel on the way coming August 13th, I thought this would be a great time to catch us all up. So let's stop wasting time and get into the movie. The movie opens up with a haunting teaser, which shows the blind man, played by Stephen Lang, dragging an unconscious woman across the pavement of Buena Vista Street, which funnily enough translates to good view in English. We flash to Rocky, Money, and Alex robbing a fancy house, which by the way, Rocky and Money are dating, but Alex kinda has a crush on Rocky. The group steals jewelry, clothes, computers, and just about anything valuable, though Money is having a little too much fun destroying property and tinkling all over that floor. Gross. Following the robbery, the gang drives back home, and Rocky reveals that she's leaving Detroit, much to the dismay of Alex. Once Alex is dropped off at home, Money cashes in on the products that they stole earlier, but he's not satisfied with the cash he's received from the dealer. However, a big opportunity arises, as Money is given the address of a military veteran in a broken down house in a desolate neighborhood. His daughter was killed by being run over by some girl, and therefore, he got quite a pretty penny for it, $300,000 to be exact. The job seems easy, as the military veteran has a security system through Alex's dad's home security business. But Alex wants no part of it because he doesn't like big money gigs due to the potential consequences it can have on him and his dad. We then go into Rocky's world, where she lives with her abusive mother and her mother's alcoholic boyfriend. It's clear that Rocky and her daughter need to leave the toxic home, and luckily for our heroine, Alex changes his tune and decides to do the job. As Money grabs the video of their surveillance of the house, Rocky explains her backstory that further cements why she needs to leave Detroit as soon as possible.
When my dad left, my mom started drinking, and she told me that my dad's leaving was all my fault.
The gang inspects the video, and nothing out of the ordinary jumps out, as the house appears to be ripe for robbing. Out of nowhere, a Rottweiler scares the frick out of Rocky, Money, and Alex. The owner whistles his dog back over, and it's no other than the blind man. Despite some pushback from Alex, the gang decides to break into the house that same evening. Fast forward to 2 a.m., Rocky, Money, and Alex surround the house. They decide to sneak in through the side. The group came well prepared though, tossing a piece of meat with a little sleepy pill in it to knock the doggy out. Despite the dog passing out, the gang struggles to get inside until Rocky spots a window without any bars on it. She takes the initiative and breaks into the house through the window, which sets off the timer. Luckily, the lovely mother of one disarms the alarm before it can go off. Outside, Alex mouths off to Money,
She must have got it by now. She's fine. Yeah, like you really give a fuck.
who puts him back in his place before Rocky opens the door.
Be a good friend and stay in the fucking friend zone, aight?
They quietly enter the home, and the gang explores the place, searching for the safe. Along the way, Money catches the blind man sleeping in front of the television, which is playing videos of his dead daughter playing outside. The blind man wakes up briefly, making Money nervous. However, the blind man simply turns off the television and goes back to sleep. Money then puts down some sleepy gas and tiptoes on out of the room. At this point, the coast is clear, and the gang finds a heavily locked door. Money fails to open it with a crowbar, so he pulls out a heckin' Beretta, since he has a ton of experience with these guns.
You've never shot a gun before.
Yeah, well, it's time to pop that cherry, baby, because I'm gonna pop that shit like a fucking tuna again.
Not thinking that's a good idea, Alex warns against it and tries to get Rocky to leave with him, but she refuses. Money shoots off the Beretta and successfully breaks open the lock. However, that moment wakes up the blind man, who questions who's in his house. Money tries to play it off that he's drunk, but the blind man stumbles over the broken lock. Money then gets defensive and threatens him with the Beretta, but the blind man isn't having that and manages to snatch away the gun and hold Money forcefully against the wall. The blind man questions whether there's more people inside of the house, but Money doesn't squeal on Rocky. The blind man then lets him go, but then the blind man shoots Money with his gun, killing him. Rocky is able to sneak into the closet as the blind man explores his home. After hearing the gunshot, Alex re-enters the house and comes close in contact with the blind man, who's rushing down the hallway. Alex sees that the military vet has put a lock on the front door, blocking the exit. As the blind man goes around the house sealing all the exits tight, Alex and Rocky are able to meet up in the closet. Surprisingly, Rocky finds the safe and puts in the code. The door opens, and it's the $300K that they were looking for. Rocky immediately puts the money in the bag. After, Alex and Rocky check to make sure that the room is clear and step out of the closet. Suddenly, the blind man bursts through the door, stopping the thieves in their tracks. He then puts Money's body in a bag. Alex attempts to step back, but them floor's creaky, son, and accidentally makes some noise, causing the blind man to point the Beretta at both Alex and Rocky. After an intense minute or two, he turns his attention back to Money, whose phone rings. The blind man shoots wildly, but nobody ends up hurt. He realizes it was just a phone, and goes back to moving Money's body, while Alex and Rocky go into the locked room. As they search for the basement door that leads outside, the blind man happens to find their shoes at the front door. He notices too many pairs and sniffs them, differentiating the odors from Money's feet. He immediately rushes toward the safe and opens it to find that his money is gone. He don't look too happy. During this time, while Alex and Rocky are trying to leave, they discover the woman who killed the blind man's daughter heavily chained up in the basement. They help set her free, but they hear footsteps coming toward the basement. All three make a run towards the outside basement door. Alex successfully unlocks the door, but the blind man opens it up and fires off several shots, one of which kills the innocent woman. Alex and Rocky run for dear life as the blind man shoots wildly. Eventually, he discovers that he accidentally killed a chained up woman, and as you can imagine, he wasn't too thrilled. Alex and Rocky form a plan to get to the front door as the blind man seals off the outside basement door. They scramble to get to the door when the blind man shoots at them once again. He decides to turn the tables and turns off the lights, trying to throw Alex and Rocky off their game being in the pitch black. However, the two outsmart him and get back upstairs. Waiting for them is the blind man's Rottweiler. Alex is able to calm him down a bit as Rocky tries to unlock the front door. However, the blind man bangs on the locked door, which prompts the dog to run after both Alex and Rocky, who go upstairs into a bedroom and barricade themselves in. The blind man gets to the room and tries forcing his way in, but Alex keeps him at bay as Rocky goes into the vent. The blind man eventually hits the door hard enough to push Alex down, and the Rottweiler charges in and pushes Alex out the window, landing on a skylight. The glass starts breaking, and unfortunately, the blind man is standing right under him. The Rottweiler then goes after Rocky, but she falls down a drop in the vent, knocking her out cold. The noise of her fall attracts the blind man, and he goes to investigate. Perfect timing, as Alex wakes up. However, he flips over to see the blind man pointing the gun at him and firing a shot, breaking the glass, causing Alex to fall back into the house. Alex gets up and grabs the remote that sets off the alarm. He presses the button over and over again, but is out of range, and unfortunately for him, the blind man comes racing around the corner and down the hall, preventing him from getting to the alarm. Alex hides, and they play a little game of hide and seek. The blind man listens for Alex, who eventually makes the tiniest noise, giving the blind man his location, leading to a fight that spills out in the laundry room. Feeling brave, Alex tries to attack the blind man, but his fighting skills just aren't up to par with a military veteran. With the blind man having the upper hand, he finishes off the job with giant head shears. In the meantime, Rocky wakes up and continues crawling, finally getting a chance to escape, breaking open a vent leading to the outside, but the blind man pulls her right back into the house. He beats Rocky up until she's knocked out once again. Once she awakes, she realizes that she's trapped inside the basement, similar to the woman from earlier. The blind man explains why he held the girl down there.
Cindy took my child away from me. It's only fair she give me a new one. She was pregnant with my baby. You killed them both.
And promises to give Rocky her life back in 9 months after she gives him a child. Yeah, pretty freaking messed up. Just as he's about to put his clam sauce into her via a turkey baster, Alex surprises him with an attack from behind. Alex manages to chain up the man, and Rocky gets a little bit of revenge by kicking his tail. It turns out the blind man actually stabbed Money's body with the head shears, not Alex. So both Rocky and Alex flee and finally open the front door, but as they are exiting, Alex is shot dead by the blind man. Rocky, distraught, runs out of the house, but the Rottweiler is close behind her. She gets back to the car, but realizes that she doesn't have the keys. However, the Rottweiler is still looking for his next meal and terrorizes her. Being the clever girl that she is, Rocky traps the dog inside of the trunk and exits the vehicle. Yeah, she did it. Oh. Nope, never mind. The blind man blindsides her, leading us to the opening shot of the blind man dragging an unconscious Rocky down the road. The end appears for our near heroine until she sees the alarm button that Alex brought with him. She presses it and the loud noise gets the better of him. The blind man shoots wildly until he runs out of bullets. Then Rocky strikes, strategically hitting the blind man with a crowbar. The alarm noise finally stops, but Rocky still kicks his butt and sends him flying down into the basement. She grabs the money and leaves just before the cops arrive. A few days later, Rocky and her daughter are at the airport ready to leave for California. Rocky catches the news and finds out that the blind man survived, though he never mentions that Rocky stole his money. Despite the disappointing news, Rocky and her daughter head off to California in a happily ever after ending. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie down below. Are you guys gonna go watch the second one? I'll definitely be covering it here when the Blu-ray comes out. But until then, I'll see you guys next week. Next week is definitely gonna be a fun one, so make sure you don't miss out on it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.